Welcome to the Fantasy Cycling Podcast, featuring your hosts, Grant Gardner and John Anderson. Chapeau, you're in the mix.
Welcome to the Fantasy Cycling Podcast. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is.
Yeah, we've been juggling time zones this week with all the racing, right?
Yeah. And recording at a different time than we usually do. Grant, thanks for being flexible. Celebrated my 15-year anniversary last week, so I'm sure. Yeah, it was nice to go out and celebrate that. But appreciate you being flexible on the time to record. How are you?
Doing good. And I mean, all of these races that kicked off, we didn't have to do a preview this week. We just got to enjoy watching all the racing.
Yeah, I did enjoy the racing that I was able to watch. I don't know if I really love having that much racing to kind of, as someone with a family and young kids who wants to watch a lot of racing, who enjoys watching it. 3 races going on at the same time during the week while you've got a full-time job. It's a lot. I was a bit overwhelmed. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So earlier in the week was fine because we just had UAE. And then Wednesday we added Ruta del Sol or Andalucía and Algarve. And then yesterday we added the Tour de Alpes Maritime, and then today we added Tour de Rwanda. So I think we had 6 races going on today, which is just wild.
It is wild.
I don't think it's good for the sport to have that much. Like, it's fun if you have the time for a lazy Saturday morning to just flip back and forth, and if one of the stages is a bit of a dud or gets canceled or something like that, then you're like, oh great, I got a backup. But if you truly want to invest in each race,
if a stage ends up being washed out, then you can watch the other one. If they go the wrong way.
Yep. And hopefully the fans have noticed that I've been investing a lot in social media.
You've had a really busy week.
Yeah.
Keeping up with all
so doing like
socials.
5 different race previews is fun, but if I hold myself to that standard, I'm glad it's not like that every week.
Hey, this is a good time to mention, follow us on Instagram or X. The handle is listen to FCP, and it's the number 2. Grant puts a lot of work into that, and certainly did this past week with everything that was going on. Yeah, there's been a lot of dialogue on different platforms, other podcasts and media about how, the sport can be fine-tuned, dialed in to better grow viewership and, enthusiasm with the sport. And there's a lot of good ideas out there that are up for debate, pros and cons to a lot of them. But, I think fine-tuning the calendar to where you don't have so much all occurring at the same time. I personally enjoy the rhythm, the cadence, if I may, of like a tour, even if it's a stage race, like a 5 or 7 day stage race, or obviously a grand tour, of just kind of really locking into that race and enjoying it every day. And then when you have multiple overlapping, it becomes almost confusing for me. And I'm probably not the biggest consumer of cycling. I'm on a podcast about it, but so I'm obviously an enthusiast, right? But and for me, if it's too much for me, then I think that they could probably dial it in. It does make you really appreciate a lot of the media and the other resources that are out there that do such a great job on different channels that can kind of give you recaps. But yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you, I did have the peak of the experience was on Thursday. I had to do some time. It's freezing cold here. So I did like 2 hours on the trainer on Thursday after work, and I just got caught up. And all 3 of the stages for that day. So I was watching the previous night's UAE, and we had just an amazing sprint from Milan. I think that was like stage 4 or something like that. And, you know, some dynamics in the crosswinds that were kind of interesting to watch. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. And then I skipped over on YouTube or Max, sorry, rather, to watch stage 2 of Algarve and watched kind of the first little skirmish between Jonas and Rog, and then ended up seeing Jan Hurt. Was it who was it at won on that stage?
It wasn't Jan Hurt because I know I had him on my fantasy team, and that did not come to fruition.
Who was it? Anyway, watch that. That was great. And then Del Sol, that was a stage where Pidcock won the finish there. That was also a pretty entertaining stage. You know, he kind of crossed the finish line and then hit like a speed bump and threw a tail whip.
Yeah.
After the finish.
There's been some concerning safety things that have gone on because one of the stages we saw this week, there was like a speed bump in the sprint, but I'm trying to find who you're referencing. I mean, if you're watching.
Oh, I'm talking about Jan Christen.
Yes.
The stage where Jan Christen
won at Algarve.
Won, different Jan. Yeah. And I really loved that stage. That was great. Yes. Jonas and Rog looked kind of mid actually. At that point.
That felt like a Grand Tour stage where you had that really steep ramps at the finish after a climbing day. Kristen was there as kind of one of the cards to play for UAE, and it ended up Almeida, his teammate, almost caught him, but gifted the stage to him because Almeida was able to take GC on that day.
Yeah. Very entertaining.
Yes.
So all that to say, like, you've got 2 hours killing a trainer after a day in the office and you want something to watch, like, loving it. But then the other days of the week for me, busy with work, busy with family life, it's hard to keep up with. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. Hit us up on X or Instagram. Give us your take. Grant, what are you like? Are you like thumbs up, thumbs down, multiple races?
I think the ideal situation would be maybe to have a stage race during the week, like at Paris-Nice or something like that, and then you get to the weekend and you have like one big classic.
Yeah,
and it kind of gives you a mix of different types of racing, but you're not overwhelmed with content. If they can develop that one cycling platform that, you know, I think Visma's ownership is trying to promote, I think that could be valuable, but it's going to be a while until we get something that really works for the business model.
I think if you've listened to this show before, you can probably tell that we're, you know, if we're getting philosophical this much on the show, it means all of our teams weren't that great. We want to talk about something else. I was more dialed in on UAE. I think I finished like mid pack. Yeah, I did right in the middle. Had some things right. Got some things that I missed. You know, wow, what a stinker to just get skunked by Visma pulling Coy out on stage 2. That was annoying. I really wish that
there should be a rule against that.
Don't these people know that we're counting on him for our fantasy teams?
Yeah. So
be a rule.
That should be something where don't even get him to start if you know that he's sick or is injured. But you know, but I think I think we did pretty well in terms of, I had 5 of the top 6 riders in terms of points scored. We just had a couple of misses that would have been the final piece to the puzzle. Like I picked Jay Vine when I should have picked Josh Tarling. And who could have predicted that Tarling would hold on to the jersey after the time trial? Yeah,
well, I want to talk about Tarling because I think this happens to me a lot in fantasy cycling is I have sort of like I see something like I felt like last year we talked about Tarling a lot in the pod. We knew he could time trial well. He's an up and coming talent, and we took him a lot. We gave him a lot of real estate on the airwaves, and he never kind of, the
apart from time trials, he never really.
It didn't materialize in other ways, and I was kind of hoping for that to occur. Like, okay, I can snag him on a time trial, and then maybe we see that a performance where he hangs in there in a GC field and gets like a top 5. And that, I mean, he was your 4th best point scorer on fantasy, 400 credits. Only 29% of users took him, which actually that's pretty big. And he got 145 points. So I don't know, man. I mean, he's going to be in Omloop this weekend, and with a big time trial engine like that, and coming in and off some form. But yeah, that happens to me. There's been other riders like this in the past where I feel like we've been early on them, and then they strike hot, and I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, you pulled out of the investment, right?
Yeah.
Right when it was time to cash in.
Yeah. Milan looked, what was your take on Milan? I thought he looked awesome. I mean, him and Merlier, we talked a lot about sprinters, Grant, and there's 2 in the top 9.
Yes, and one thing we definitely got right was we said that Philipsen was not worth taking, and we were correct. He failed to win a stage in a stage race for the first time since 2022, and he was relegated on stage 1 as we predicted. So got that part right. I ended up taking Milan and Merlier. I think you took Coy and Milan.
Yeah. So kudos to you on that. You chose the better 2. I think reminded watching this of how snappy a finisher Finn Fisher Black is. I tend to always categorize him as like climber type, but he's such an all-rounder. He's almost like closer to like an Alaphilippe style. Maybe, I don't know. I think he climbs better than Jala does now, certainly, but maybe even better.
I would put him in kind of the Thibaut Nice category.
Okay.
Has a fast finish, especially on uphill sprints, in time trial, but is not a pure climber.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so he got like a top 3 or top 5 at least in stage 1, snagged a bunch of points. He's your 3rd most valuable rider in UAE with 150 points. My two dudes from Movistar.
Ooh, yes, Castrillo and Romeo.
Yeah, did not disappoint. So
did you have both of them?
Yeah, dog.
Nice. So I just had Romeo, which Romeo won. It's always fun to have.
He's the most valuable best bang for buck rider too. He was only 200 credits, 127 points.
Yeah, that's value right there.
Value.
It's always fun to have the winners of all the jerseys on your team. So to have Pogacar, Romeo, and Milan, which Pogacar was easy, but to get the other 2 right, that's fun.
Yeah. Another thing to just shout out to frickin' Bilbao Baggins, show favorite. He's just such a pro's pro. Watching him on the final stage up, however you say that climb.
Jebel
Havit. He rode that with such maturity and skill, and he's such a smart rider. And he it's like he's been in the peloton for 50 years. He knows his craft. Didn't score massive amounts of points, 77 points. I mean, he's pretty expensive, but kudos to him. Oscar Onley really kind of emerging this year, Grant.
Yep.
So yeah, and I always, I probably put this guy in the same category or similar category as Tarling. Van Etbelt was not. He definitely won more. I think he did. I have to fact check this, but won more fantasy points, I think, than Tarling did last season. But seeing him in UAE, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's good. I need to.
Yeah, I mean, he won last year. He won UAE last year.
Well, I just forgot all about him this year. I was like, what the heck?
He's definitely one.
Why did I forget this guy's so good?
he's one of those riders that gets those opportunities early in the season and then might have to slot into more of a domestique role later in the season. Whereas Jorgensen, similar deal where you win Tour of Oman and you're like, oh, this guy's good. And then his team leaders got injured and he was able to continue to get opportunities throughout the season. Maybe you kind of forgot about Van Edenvelt because you were
maybe, or maybe I'm just an idiot,
or you just weren't paying attention. Also, I mean, Pog didn't do UAE Tour last year, so
yeah. Bit of a different dynamic when he was there.
Yeah, which it could have been a little bit of a snoozer of a race, but I like how he made it interesting by just
the fact that you have crosswinds and the possibility for echelons makes, I personally love seeing crosswinds, and there were a couple stages where that was really a factor. I don't know what stage it was, like 4 maybe, where Pog went in the break or like bridged across the break. You see this? And then you do not.
Yeah.
They hit a roundabout. It's like an out of back. And like the other UAE rider that was with him, the break like waves at everybody.
Yeah, Dama Novak was waving, and the quick step riders got so salty because they were having to chase Pog to get back for the sprint because they're sprinting for Melier. So,
which I saw on the Eurosport Instagram account. Shout out Eurosport. I mean, it's a decent Instagram. It's no listen to FCP Instagram account, but it's all right. Pog was in the comments.
Oh, I love that.
And they were talking about why they were salty. He's like, someone was like, actually, it's because the car was too close to the brake. And Pog commented, he's like, this is true.
Love that.
Or something to that effect. Did you watch? I was probably more keyed into UAE, but what do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about
Let's talk about Algarve.
Algarve, yeah.
And how one thing we can't predict, we can try to predict form or the way the course suits the rider. We cannot predict people going the wrong way. So unfortunately for Filippo Ganna, who actually won the stage, and for us as people picking fantasy teams, the stage was nullified. So we got no results on stage 1. So if you, like me, picked Biniam Girmay, hoping he would take the leader's jersey on stage 1, or Jordi Meos, sorry, no points for you.
I actually kind of love that happened, because going the wrong way is kind of like if anybody as a cyclist themselves, is like a universal experience for all cyclists. I mean, I did it earlier this afternoon. I was on a group ride and just was a slacker and didn't pay attention to the posted route, and didn't download or prepare, because that's like my personal brand when I'm on group rides with my friends. And what did I do? I was in the front and I took a right turn when we were supposed to go straight. Just caused a big old mess. So I feel like it's something we've all experienced if you ride bikes.
Yeah. And it's hard to get the peloton all, because if you're at the back of the peloton, you're just following the wheel in front of you. And if the guys at the front make a mistake and they're just following the motorbike that goes the wrong way,
then
it's all over.
It's actually really
dangerous.
Really dangerous.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had some big brand names in this race.
The startless quality score was really high.
And so we got who we got? We got Jonas in there. I think this I feel like I might need to confess something. And this is a universal experience also for anybody who plays fantasy cycling, is when you just forget to get your picks in.
Did you not pick a team, John?
No, I'm just going to be honest.
It's a safe space here.
It's a safe space, bro. Yeah, I forgot to pick. So, I mean, that's part of my moaning and my whinging from earlier. It's like, there's too much going on.
Yeah. So you would have picked Jan Christen, Jonas.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I did pick a team, and I picked Roglic and Jonas, thinking that, they would tear up the race. That didn't really happen. We didn't see Jonas really put in a max effort until the time trial at the end. He ended up winning GC, But we had one of those situations where the guy that won GC did not score the most fantasy points.
And it's always Jonas.
Yeah.
This is why if you, I mean, the top tier of rider, the top 2 riders in the world right now for a tour is Jonas and Pog. And that's why I take Pog every time if I have to decide between the 2 of them. Because, yeah, I mean, look, our boy Yanni Kristen, 200 credits, and he scored more points than Jonas.
Yep. And, I mean, is Jonas... I bet Chris Froome, if we were in the era of picking teams when Chris Froome was riding, he probably would have been a terrible fantasy pick. Because he would have just done nothing and then, like, taken GC on stage 20 and,
Yeah. But
Almeida
looked. I mean, so who? I mean, from a points perspective, Jonas, obviously in the top 9. Guys, we say this over and over again. Morgado is just easy points. That guy is such a freaking beast, and he's such good value at 200 credits. I mean, the word is out. 71% of users took him. So I don't know if the app's if the algorithm will kick in soon to where his cost will go up or what.
So they don't update it until each Grand Tour. So he's going to be 200 until the Giro. So
he's a take on everything for me.
Yep. And if you're looking at maybe some, not duds, but not worth the spend, Wout van Aert was not worth the spend. 1,200 credits, only 61 points. I liked Benyam Girmay for those sprint stages, but of course he had one less stage to fight for. He was only 54 points at 1,000 credits. But then you've got value with Lawrence de Plus, only 400 credits. He ended up being 3rd on GC, and
not a lot of people took him. 2%
points.
He was a guy that he really wants it. You can tell he's hungry for some success. End of last year, I was really rooting for him. 29. Is Ineos getting? Are they getting their groove back a little bit? Some of these riders,
it's
Carlin, De Plus.
I think they've got a lot of momentum. We had Kwiatkowski, who won a stage the other day too, or a one-day race. So they've got momentum. I think they've also got some bad.
Sucks.
They've got some bad juju too. Of Bernal broke his collarbone. C-Rod broke his collarbone.
Ooh, I had not heard that.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of they're making lemonade out of lemons. They've got some bad situations, but still have a lot of good vibes coming into the classics.
Which team has the best vibes right now? Who's got the momentum, the wind in their sails?
So obviously UAE.
I was gonna say them too,
but I mean that's like saying,
hey, you can have the best roster and have bad vibes though.
Yeah,
we've seen it before. So that it seems like the culture is strong there. There's a good culture, and they've got great talent. Of course, it helps when you've got the best rider in the world on your squad.
Yeah, but I think it's top to bottom. I mean, they won Andalucía with now I'm completely with Sivakov, sorry.
Oh yeah, Civi.
They won UAE Tour with Pog. They've won races recently with Morgado. Yeah, they've got a lot of positive momentum and are winning races. I would put Bahrain Victorious up there with them. With Buitrago.
Yeah, that Buitrago win was great.
Lenny Martinez. You mentioned Bilbao looks good.
Yeah.
It's hard for him to beat Pogacar, but he still looked good.
Yep. Movistar.
Okay. I mean, they've been winning. They've been looking strategically sound. one might say. And so, yeah, I like Movistar too. And we'll see how
Bora, the everyone not named Rog, I think, with Bora looks.
Yeah, and we mentioned that earlier. Of you got Dan Bigham that went from Ineos to Bora. Ineos looks really good so far this season, despite not having the best roster out there. Bora, apart from Sam Welsford, has not looked great so far this season.
Yeah.
Despite gaining Dan Bigham from Ineos.
That's a good transition to talk about Andalucía, because my favorite rider from last year got injured in what did he get injured in? You told me about it on the show. Did he get hit by a car? Maxime Van Gils, talking about.
So Maxime Van Gils, he was involved in the crash at Bessèges where the car entered the course.
Yeah. Scary.
Was injured, but did not. Clearly, it wasn't severe enough for him to not keep racing, and he won the first stage of Andalucía.
Yep. And he was the most valuable rider, 600 credits for 201 points, again over the eventual GC winner of Pavel Sivakov. So maybe it's just because I like Van Gil that I'm like, I'm rooting for the not. I think they, if I'm Bora, I'm cutting Rog, finding a way to get out of that contract.
Oof, hot take.
The hot take right there.
Well, we'll see how he shows up. I think
can't read too much, and you can't read too much into these beginning of the season races, I guess.
Yeah. I thought Andalucía was maybe the lesser of the three races this week. Not as strong as the start list, but still some pretty good racing. Van Gils looked good. Pidcock continued to have good form. There was a couple of guys on AG2R that showed up on the best team. Clement Bertet, who we mentioned before, and I mean, I'm not going to say this right, but Johannes Stan Mittet from Norway, who transferred from Visma. He showed up on the best team as well. So interesting.
An ex-movie star rider, Marc Soler.
Yes, Marc Soler, which UAE, of course, had, three guys in the top 10 in terms of points, again, with Sivakov, Wellens, and Soler. We saw a few smaller names win some stages. Diego Uriarte for Keepa Kern Pharma won a stage. So some things to take away from this one, heading into more stage racing and more classics.
Cool. So speaking of the racing ahead, there's a big one this weekend. What is it again, Grant?
There's actually 4 classics this coming weekend.
Is it really?
Yeah. Pay attention, John. So we've got the beginning of the season, some might say, Omloop at Nieuwsblad on Saturday. It's going to go over the historic Koppelmuur, the other Flandrian hills, and that'll be coupled with Kuurne Brussels Kuurne on Sunday, which is more of a sprinters classic. And then we've also got the pairing of Fon Ardèche and Fon Drôme over in France.
So is this officially like the first weekend of the classics? Like classics begin this weekend.
Yeah, which it's funny, it kicks off in Belgium, and then we quickly jet over to Italy for, you've got Strade Bianche and Milano Sanremo and Tirreno Adriatico, and then we'll pop back over for the heat of the classic season with all the Belgian classics and, of course, Flanders and Roubaix. Okay.
Do you have should we wrap up and just listen? Little tip for you when you're playing fantasy. If you see the game is out there, just go ahead and pick a team. Just get
some reps in.
Just go. I mean, if you got a few days to so you've got to lock them in, just pick go with your gut. This is my process. I just fill out 9 names. Get those out there. Just marinate on them for a couple days, and then dial it in. As you get closer and closer to listen to this. Listen to the podcast. Do your research. But so let's share. My gut picks.
Yeah.
All right. I got Jasper the Disaster.
Bold.
Yeah. Piddles. I think he's vibing right now. He's vibing.
Get behind that.
Wow, just because maybe he was sandbagging this week, just trying to get some form, some miles in the legs, get some racing under the belt. And then I have 3 UAE riders because
you can never have enough.
They boss. You can never have enough. Just take the whole team. Nils Pollitt, a favorite of mine to take for races like this. Just an absolute engine. Did you say he came second last year when we were recapping that?
Yeah.
Talking about this before we started. German guy. And then Morgado, who we've already spoken about in this podcast. He is so powerful and he's cheap. Jonathan Nervaeus, who is also pretty good value at 400 and can race. And then I got Josh Tarlin because he's an engine as well. I could see him getting into a move and using his time trial skills. Lazcano, big name from last year who we talked about a lot. Threw him on there, only 400 credits. And then young Joseph Blackmore on Premier Tech, only 200 credits. Dude, I may not even mess with this.
I mean,
this is the top 9 right here.
Why not? So the good thing about Omloop is the start list. It claims to be finalized already. There might be some guys that,
drop out
or might have gotten injured this weekend that decide not to race that were originally on the provisional start list. But for the most part, it should be pretty locked in for next Saturday, which is pretty rare this far ahead. I'm also going with a top heavy UAE strategy. I think UAE might sweep the podium. They might.
You want to talk about hot take? You may be right.
They might do a map A, quick step style.
Would love to see it. Do you think they'll wear like those black kits that they've got?
That would be dope.
Sweep the podium in the murdered out UAE kit, dude. Come on.
That would be iconic. But I've also got Pollitt, and then I'm gonna say that the podium's gonna be Pollitt, Narvaez, and Wellens.
Sick.
And then following up close behind, sprinting for the minor places will be Wout van Aert and Arnaud Delis. And then Jasper Stuyven, Tom Pidcock, Matthias Vasek, and Morgado will be up there.
Yeah, those are all great. Pidcock, he may not be powerful enough to a little bit too of a little guy. He's a bit of a watts per kilo guy, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's a racer. Racer's gonna race.
He's a gamer. Oof.
Well,
I just got excited. Yeah. Hey, we went a little longer than we just enjoying this new gear that we're working with here. And I think we had a lot of pent up kind of things to talk about because we didn't get to meet on Thursday. Thanks everybody for listening and tuning in. Another little bit of an awkward week next week for us scheduling wise. So I think we'll try and record on Wednesday, hopefully. And maybe revisit our picks for Omloop and maybe talk about some of the other races as well. Well, how do you say it? Fon Ardèche, and Fondron. Yeah, we'll talk about those. Get those out there to help you with your picks. Let us know on social, on X or Instagram, who you like for these races. You can find us there at Listen to FCP. Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.